This video was brought to you by the TLDR store. Support your favourite country, including the EU, the Czech Republic, and every single EU nation by picking up one of our Countries with Shoes pins. And get a free random badge when you order any two if you use code CZECHFREE. It's in the link below. There's been plenty of attention placed on the German election and the subsequent changes in government that resulted from its outcome. Yet, they're not the only Central European country to see a transfer of power this autumn. On October 9th, the Czech Republic voted out their controversial incumbent Prime Minister, Andrej Babis, with the new Prime Minister, Petr Fiala, officially appointed last Sunday on the 28th of November. So, what happened in the Czech Republic, and why does it matter for Europe? Well, first some context. This year's election was, in a nutshell, a vote of confidence towards the current government led by Andrej Babis. The billionaire-turned politician was subject to numerous investigations and controversies surrounding his conflict of interest. Despite that, his populist movement called ANO, or Yes in Czech, has for the last 8 years dominated the political landscape, winning pretty much every national election it participated in. However, the past year was particularly bad for Babis, mainly due to his mishandling of the COVID pandemic. The country saw record infection rates and death tolls, despite enacting some of the most draconian lockdown measures in Europe. In fact, 4 health ministers were sacked in the span of just 6 months for either breaking their own lockdown rules, corrupt dealings, or just sheer incompetence. The continued chaos in communication and massive distrust have sunk the government's approval rating to 19% in May, the lowest of all governments in the EU. This presented an excellent opportunity for the 5 opposition parties, who decided to form 2 electoral coalitions in order to unseat Babis once and for all. The initial frontrunner was the Pirates and Mayors coalition, composed of the Pirate Party and the Movement of Mayors and Independents. This liberal alliance presented itself as a fresh alternative, running on a platform of digitalisation, anti-corruption, environmentalism, and decentralisation. Back in February, the Pirates and Mayors polled as high as 34%, which would have meant the first pirate-led government in the world, something we discussed in a video at the time. However, the coalition soon ran into trouble with its campaign, mainly due to fears that the pirates were too far left. That's because the Pirate Party's leader used to have associations with Antifa, and has said some pretty controversial stuff about migration and foreign policy. Babis's campaign used this opportunity to tear the pirates apart, sometimes even fabricating claims that they would redistribute people's summer homes to migrants. With support for the pirates waning, the Czech public opted for a safer choice, the centre-right coalition called Spolu, or Together in Czech. Spolu is composed of the conservative Civic Democrats, the Christian Democrats, and the more liberal Top 09. They ran on pro-Western foreign policy, fiscal responsibility, smaller government, and even a promise to never reintroduce another lockdown. The start of their campaign got off to a rocky start though. Dominic Ferry, a young deputy from Top 09, was their most popular candidate, with over 1 million followers on Instagram. However, a number of women came forward to say that Ferry had sexually assaulted them, and many others spoke out about his inappropriate behaviour. This forced Ferry to resign as deputy and as a candidate, leaving the coalition without its mascot. Despite that, their well-funded campaign trumped the pirates, closing the race between Babis and the leader of Spolu, Petr Fiala. Fiala compensated for past scandals of the coalition candidates by marketing his own decency and reliability. Originally a university professor and the country's leading political scientist, his boring yet calm and non-controversial persona soon became more appealing than the shouting match between Babis and the pirates. But enough about the campaign, let's take a look at the results. Despite all polling that put ANO ahead, Spolu snatched an unexpected victory. ANO received 27.1% of the vote and 72 seats. And while Spolu won 27.7% of the vote, they got 1 less seat thanks to the Czech electoral system, which uses multi-member constituencies. Even more surprising though was the extremely poor showing of the Pirate and Mayor coalition, and the Pirate Party in particular. Voters selected mainly the local popular mayoral candidates in the regional party lists, meaning that the Pirates ended up receiving only 4 of the 37 seats won by the coalition, a net loss of 18 seats for the Pirates since the last election. Besides these coalitions, the far-right SPD won 9.5%, maintaining a solid parliamentary presence with 20 seats. On the other side of the spectrum, the left-wing parties, which backed the Babis government, failed to meet the 5% threshold to enter the lower chamber, meaning that both the Social Democrats and the Communists are now, for the first time in Czech electoral history, out of national politics. Ultimately, though, it all came down to higher voter participation, with the anti-Babis voters mobilising and pushing the 5% threshold higher than it otherwise would have been, that spelled defeat for ANU. After receiving a majority with 108 seats out of 200, the 5 opposition parties made it clear that they intended to govern together. So the process of coalition building pretty much concluded as soon as results were in. The Civic Democrats will, as the biggest party, occupy the premiership. Their leader, Petr Fiala, was appointed as Prime Minister by the President on Sunday after confirming this new government arrangement. And funny enough, the President was actually COVID positive at the time, so the ceremony had to take place with him quarantined behind plexiglass. Anyway, beyond the optics of this ceremony, how will the new government look? Well, Fiala's Civic Democrats intend to lead the Finance, Defence and Justice ministries. The leader of the mayors will take over the Interior Ministry, while others from the movement are set to occupy Education and Trade ministries. The Christian Democratic chairman is poised to take over Labour and Social Affairs, while the Pirate Party's leader will become the Minister for Local Development and Digitisation. President Zeman has promised to start appointing new ministers soon, yet he's expressed some concern over the Pirates' Foreign Affairs nominee, citing a lack of experience. However, many speculate that the president is trying to get rid of them due to his anti-Russian and anti-Chinese stance. And as the president did force some nominees in the Babis government to stand down before, we'll have to see if this happens again in the coming days, and whether Fiala will allow President Zeman to flex his powers like Babis did. Individual personalities aside, overall the new government will face 3 main problems. Firstly, it lacks any ideological cohesion. And this is unsurprising, given that the government involves 5 ideologically distinct parties. For example, last year the Civic Democrats voted for tax cuts and deregulation that their now coalition parties rallied against. They also resent the European Green Deal, while all of their partners approve it. And the Pirate Party will have even more trouble fitting in. They spent years criticising the corruption of conventional parties, yet they now sit in a government with them. Finally, the Christian Democrats disagree with the other parties on various social issues, and are certain to veto any efforts to push through gay marriage or abortion access for Polish women. You get the point. This 5-party coalition doesn't agree on much, apart from not liking Babis, which makes governing together difficult. The second problem is Babis in opposition. Babis still leads the largest party in the lower chamber, and has already shifted his rhetoric accordingly. He's even hinted at running for president once Zeman's term is up, which, were he to win, would be a nightmare for Fiala. And his control over a number of Czech media outlets means that no matter what the new government does, they're likely to get a tough ride in the press. And with a looming economic crisis caused by inflation, energy shortage, a large budget deficit, and an unrelenting COVID pandemic, the opposition will certainly have a lot of ammunition. And although many of these problems may actually be the previous government, now opposition's fault, it still leaves this new government fighting an uphill battle. And if things don't improve, as was promised during the campaign, the Czech electorate certainly won't be happy. But what do you think? Is the new government signing up for a suicide mission? Or will they be able to fix the mess that the previous government left them with? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As I said at the start, for a limited time, if you order any 2 Countries with Shoes pin badges, then you'll get a 3rd random pin absolutely free. It's as easy as that. Buy 2 and get a random 3rd pin free. And if you don't like the random pin we send you, then give it to a friend as a Christmas gift. Stick it on someone's backpack without telling them. Attach it to the sole of your shoe to give yourself an extra tap. It's up to you. But the store is linked below, and the code is CzechFree. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that is in the description.